Here's a bold statement from my next guest. Date night, I'm quoting, date night is not optional for those who want to have a close and connected marriage. So, how and when was your last date night? There are always a million things that can get in the way for sure, but there are small, simple ways you can raise the bar on that special time with your spouse. Licensed marriage and family therapist Laura Brotherson is here to challenge us all to take date night to the next level. That's bold, not an option.
It's not an option.
Not an option.
You've got to have date night. I mean, more marriages die of neglect than of anything else. So if date night is optional, you're going to end up with a marriage that you might not want.
Now, what about the mom out there, and actually you're looking at one, who's saying, I got little babies everywhere, babysitters are hard, it's, what? How do we really carve it out?
Do the best you can.
Okay.
Try to get out if you can, but if you can't, at least put kids down, and we know that every Friday night we watch a movie together or we play a game together where there's just official date night time for that marriage.
Go deeper on that. How is dating your spouse different than just hanging out with your spouse or just chilling with your spouse?
Yeah, I mean, dating is just the difference usually is that if it's just time with your spouse, it often includes children, which means you're distracted and it's not this focused one-on-one, you're important to me kind of time. So date night, date lunch, date morning, whatever it is, it just says you're important and you're my priority.
And you talk about the perils of a neglected marriage, which I think that's a stop sign all itself. You know, we all want to maintain that connection and that closeness. Do you see this pop up in therapy? Or do you get to the root of it and you're like, no date night as one of maybe many issues?
This is probably the fastest, easiest, quickest first thing that couples ought to be doing if they're not doing great, is get date night into there, even if it was once a month. I'm a fan of once a week, but once a month. But there's 3 Ds that we can think of as worries about not having date night. Number 1 is just disconnected, dissatisfied marriages. Kind of like what we would call a parallel marriage, where you're just going through the motions, but you're not really connected.
Okay.
Number 2 would be dangers of temptations. You are more vulnerable to outside temptations when you're not connected.
Okay.
Number 3, of course, is divorce, because the saddest thing to me, and we've talked about this before, is, you know, people married 20, 30 years getting divorced because they find that they neglected their marriage and there's nothing left when kids are gone.
It's what, I mean, we have talked about it before, and I always scratch my head when you hear, I mean, it's heartbreaking when you hear of that couple who was in it for so long and then somehow thinks there's something else out there, but you could boil that down to maybe this neglect as part of it?
Not nourishing your marriage on a regular basis.
Let's set some ground rules. If we want to elevate date night, we want to date up, so to speak, the first thing you say, turn off the phone, get rid of the screens.
BYU did a study in 2014 that I thought was fabulous, and they coined the term technoference, where they just found that there's so many negative effects of having cell phones in relationships. And so my opinion is, you guys can all survive one night without your phone. There is no text, no email, no call coming in that they cannot wait for a couple hours or tomorrow.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, it's got to learn it.
Even when I'm in a committed, concentrated movie night, right, cuddled up next to Mark on the couch, if I hear a ding, it's tempting to not reach over there and grab that phone. It's tempting.
Yes, and you've got to train yourself to stay off of it. You know, you have to practice.
Kick it to the other room.
Yep.
All right, you want us to minimize the babysitting distractions. You touched on this.
Yeah, so I mean, you just help your babysitters understand that they don't call unless somebody is dead or bleeding. And I've told my kids this, unless you're dead or bleeding, don't call.
Don't call me.
And so you have to train your babysitters and you have to give them information, but then you also have to train yourself. The parents often have the hardest time not responding to a text or a call.
I'm guilty of this.
And
well, what does it do?
You just don't.
I'm in the middle of a date night, right? Yep. We're at a restaurant, we're having a great conversation. What's the harm of just one check-in with the kids?
What's the message you send to your spouse?
That I'm not there, that I'm not present?
Yes, and that they're more important. Nobody is going to die if they wait a few hours. Even your kids can learn. And the best thing you can do for your kids is have an awesome marriage.
That's true.
So put your kids aside and let them know they're not a priority for a minute.
Oh, it sounds harsh, but for good reason, for good outcome.
Yep.
You want us, and I love this, you want us to show uncommon courtesy.
Yes, I mean, it just breaks my heart, especially as a marriage counselor, to see any couples walking down the street and not holding hands, or sitting watching a show and not touching. So for date night at least, let's show some uncommon courtesies of of opening the door, of saying please and thank you, of just doing the things that you hope your sons do on their dates. I have 2 eligible bachelors and they're going to kill me for saying that, but I'm hoping that they learn how to treat their dates and their spouses by how Kevin treats me on date night, especially. Kind of like it's a first date. You almost want to
I was
going to
say those courtesies take you back to those first
Yes.
dates, right? It's,
Oh,
it's what we were
yes.
doing, putting our best foot forward
Yes.
for each other.
Yes.
And it's probably in part what forged that strong connection that got us married in the first place.
Yes. And the cute thing about it, too, that you just prompted in my mind is you could be kind of boyfriend and girlfriend again on date night. And that's where you could keep that spark, keep that 30 years. I mean, I've been married almost 30 years. Keep that fun spark and spice there because you do those things like treat each other like boyfriend and girlfriend.
You talk about the spark. In case you're wondering just how passionate Laura is about this date night activity, can we show everybody your Hot
Sure.
Wheels? All right, look at that. That's your license plate.
Hey, you know how important date night is to me.
I love it. If you see Laura now driving down the freeway, you can give her a honk and a
You'll know
wave and a
that's me.
thumbs up. Thanks. All right, finally, touch more.
Touch
more on your
yes.
dates.
So marriages need a lot of non-sexual touch outside the bedroom anyway, and date night is just a really good chance. Like I was saying, if you're walking, hold hands. If you're sitting, sit close enough to touch. And the cool thing about date night, one of my favorite things about date night, is that it's just built-in emotional foreplay, which means it's easy for all of that connection to lead to lovemaking if that doesn't feel like pressure to either person, usually the wife. And so if that isn't, then it's just an easy lead in where we're not only touching more non-sexually, but there can be lovemaking as well.
All right, Laura, where can we get more advice from you?
StrengtheningMarriage.com. And if people really want to up their game and have a sextraordinary marriage, we've started doing these women's sexual wholeness workshops for women.
Tell us more.
And we're doing our first one May 9th in Salt Lake City.
Okay.
So Mother's Day weekend. And women just are usually not good at embracing, nurturing their God-given sexuality. And that is something they need to learn how to do in order to have what I hope everyone can have, a sextraordinary marriage.
So information on your website.
StrengtheningMarriage.com.
All right, you're doing good work. Thank you so
Awesome.
much. We appreciate you.